Filter, filter, filter. Done. We are ready to get it on. I'm also working on another thing on my laptop here, just so you guys know. Anyway, happy Thursday evening, everybody. Pretty far into the Bawu. But, again, we're not, Thursday nights are not necessarily purely about working on a model, as we know. So, first of all, I'm tired, so it's going to be an interesting conversation tonight. But I should be able to get through some of this. Just the craziness of the world. I mean, it's you know what? Let's bring it down. It's not the craziness of the world. It's the craziness of this country, the United States. And the regime, the United States governmental regime that's creating some problems. Not gonna lie. You know, I know, a lot of the folks that are usually on the stream are from the United States. However, we do have an international audience sometimes too. Hey, Nick, what's going on, brother? And I'd love to know uh, what other countries think about what's going on with the U.S. So, just crazy times. Crazy times. So, um, every week I feel like we're sliding into a realm, certainly a realm that we've never experienced before, with the regressive government, because that's what they are. They're regressives. They're trying to create something that one never existed, but they're trying to pull back from any kind of true forward motion, and you can't. I mean, that's the whole thing. Progress is progress. It's going to come whether you like it or not. You know, so there's a lot of regressiveness that has to that 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 I guess I continue to be stymied, blown away by how bad it gets, and not only on how bad it gets, but how tooth and nail this regressiveness is finding its way um, into our day-to-day life, and it's going to impact. I mean, the thing is, I don't. We work on models, and we've talked about this quite a bit. We work on models, and we work on a whole bunch of other things, and there will come a time when I think the majority of Americans will stop and just say, "What the hell is going on?" We're not there yet. And it's unfortunate that it'll probably take every the majority of individual Americans to realize that the level of destruction that's being laid down is going to impact us individually. Frankly, it hasn't. Let's be honest, it hasn't impacted me, right? Not to any major degree. Sure, I go on AliExpress and I want to buy a model. A model that would have cost me $15 is now selling for anywhere from 24 to 30. I don't need the model, but that's my choice if I want to buy it or not. But thanks to these taxes, these tariffs, which are taxes on us. Hey, Dwayne, good evening. How are you, brother? But these taxes that are on us, it is preventing me from buying certain things. And I'm okay with that, in that I've made a decision. What a lovely time to be an American. Oh, man. Uh, yeah, no. Yeah. Um, it's 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 truly trying. And it's today I kind of feel today was sort of like one of those interesting days that it kind of hit me in a way of um that wall. of anti-democracy that's hitting us, it's coming at us from so many different directions. I know I've heard it's like this is kind of the playbook. Distract, 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 hammer, 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 beat the shit out of everybody to the point where you just kind of put your head in your hands and just say, okay, I'm done. And we can't. But today it definitely kind of hit me a little bit. It's like it's just coming at us at such a degree. You know, the we already know about the cuts through Doge with, cutting veterans benefits, letting go of people in departments, particularly a lot of veterans who work in our government, cutting cancer research, cutting other types of medical research, cutting, the Social Security offices, making all of these cuts. Sir, this isn't the AM. No, it's not. This is the PM. This is where you hear what George is really thinking. Hey, Charles, what's going on, brother? So I think times where a bunch of Yale scholars of fascism are all expatriated. They are. Yeah. Because they're like, this is insane. I read this a while ago. Yeah, they're like, we see the freight train coming and we're jumping off the tracks. Working, how you doing? I'm doing all right, Charles. I'm doing all right. I'm home. I've got a model here. I'm not sure I'm going to get to it, but we'll see. Hey, Beans. Hey, Chuck. So here's what's going on. We have all of this pulling back of finances that help the day-to-day, that help people, okay? We've got cuts in FEMA. We've got cuts in medical research like we described. We've got cuts in weather research. We've got cuts in, let's see. No one under 65 will automatically get COVID shots. Okay, goes against my doctor, but I guess they seem to know better. Please send something before the show is over. Oh, I will do that. I'll definitely send something. No forecasting in general. Exactly. So you get all of these things coming. You have a grifting that's coming that is so in our faces. Like it's right there. What the fuck? What do you mean I can't take a $400 million gift? If somebody's going to give me a $400 million gift, of course I'm going to take it. And by the way, I'm going to charge the country $1 billion to upgrade that thing. Okay, so we got that going on. Then we got the House Appropriations Bill. And I'm not sure if anybody's read much about it. I don't expect everybody's going to go into the nitty gritty. But again, so a couple things inside. Legalization of silencers. So I'm thinking to myself, you have a president that continues to preach that we need law enforcement, and you've basically allowed, and we'll get to how this kind of came about. So what you're saying is this is the after hours show, like the late show with all the deep scoops. Kind of like Charles. Yes. This is why it's called OSG Unleashed, because first of all, I'm tired. So there's going to be a whole lot of shit coming out. But yes, that's correct, Charles. So you've got no tax on silencers. And this bill was sponsored by a gun shop owner who is a representative from Atlanta. And again, I believe in the Second Amendment with some restrictions to how we get things. But you've got this guy pushing forward no taxing on silencers and the ability to get them more freely. We're not talking about guns. We're talking about silencers. These are the things that people can strap on to guns that can now allow a weapon to be very quiet. So all those little gunshot detectors that we got out there to help our law enforcement and that kind of thing, well, those things get defeated. What's the matter with suppressors? They're called silencers, Nick. You can call them a suppressor if you'd like. They're now their use is not necessary in a civic society. It's not. Let's keep in mind, what's the purpose of a silencer? Okay, so law enforcement doesn't need badges and can disappear people and don't need properly identified. Well, you got that part too. Hearing protection for all recreational shooters. Silencers do not silence things to that level. Okay, Nick. Again, here's the thing. Anything can be justified. If there's one thing I've learned in my many years of being on this planet, it's two people can look at an exact same object and look at it from two different perspectives. And not to say that one is not legitimate and one is and one is not. However, in this specific case, the shop that the guy, this representative that owns the shop that's allowing for this stuff to happen, it's about hearing protection, by the way, and criminals don't care about laws. Okay, we can say that. So this gun shop that this representative owns has been cited multiple times for selling arms that have been found in crime. Oh, but the gun shop owner isn't to blame. Okay, fine, whatever the fuck. But the point of it is, how is that being found inside of a House Appropriations bill? So you want to take this bill in front of the representatives and say, we're going to put together this bill and we're going to discuss this bill openly amongst the Congress and set up a separate bill to make it into a law? Fine. You want to bury it inside of a finance bill? Bury it. That's not fine. Sorry. And I got to tell you, there's no fucking way of justifying it. How do you justify things like in the House Appropriations bill? We are now also putting into effect things like, or we want to put into effect things like suntan, like indoor suntanning areas. No excise tax for that. How is this helpful? How is that how is that helping the average American? Can't get my suntan? I got to pay tax on my suntan? What the fuck? So, look, I know everybody who leans to the right is going to come back and just say, well, them Democrats, they slide in their favorite things too. I'm not disagreeing. I don't think any of that's right. But right now, what you are doing is you're trying to slide through some shit that makes no sense. Like I said, you want to have something to do with silencers? Put it out on a separate fucking bill. Don't slide it through into this appropriations bill. And we won't even go into the other part that's inside there about how to prevent what they call it. I'm spacing out. Sorry, guys. It's definitely been a long day. There's some other things in that bill, but those are the two that kind of stood out specifically with me. But I heard another one too, but it'll come to me later on. Usually the House bills put a lot of crazy stuff to give the Senate stuff to pull, so they miss something awful and less obvious. Yeah, but these are pretty fucking obvious. So look, I understand that. There's always pork in everything. I've been around long enough. I know that that's the case. But like I said, you want to justify this is for protecting my hearing. First of all, I hate to tell you, you want to protect your hearing, put on some earmuffs, put on some plugs. There's other ways of doing it. Okay. So there are other solutions. So we can have this conversation if we want. We're not going to have this conversation. So you've got all of this shit that's kind of floating through. But it's getting to the point where it feels like the Third Reich. And you can have people say it's not, but if we take a look to see how the government is currently going, where we're not trying to protect our state's laws, our country's laws, but we're trying to protect the president, that is not what this government was set up to do. I like the thought it was necessary to have any little add-ons to any bill. They should all be standalone. Absolutely, Julius. By the way, Julius, how are you? How are you feeling, brother? I agree completely. Put it out as a standalone bill and then debate it. You sneak it in through an appropriations bill and giving it very little time for discussion. That's bullshit. Hearing protection still doesn't bring it down to a safe decibel. Okay. That's fine. Find another way of doing this. But this to me strikes me as the wrong way of approaching it, Nick. No ifs, ands, or buts. I don't have time to put. My ear is when someone is breaking into my home. Okay, somebody's breaking into your home. I'm sure you're not even thinking about going for silence. Okay. So again, one more time. Better, thanks. Glad to hear it. One more time. We're not here. I'm not here to debate the gun thing, but because I'm right. Let's put it that way. I'm just going to call it. I'm right. I'm just going to say there will always be excuses as to why we can't do something. Oh, no, we need this for hearing protection. Oh, there's not enough time if somebody's breaking into my house. All right, fine, whatever. Okay. So there's always going to be an excuse of why. And my feeling is that's not enough of an excuse. You can't just sit there and just say, but this extreme case of what this may do, I'm going to use. No, not flying. The show with the USSC is also more disturbing. Yep, straight up ignoring the courts is not great. No, it's not. So we have these constitutional pushes. We have a whole host of grifting that's going on. And if we follow again, this is where, again, Americans, I think, miss the boat. How much history have Americans truly studied? And I'm not talking about just American history. I'm just talking about history, historical perspective. How much historical perspective do we have? And there's enough factual data out there that sees this country is sliding into fascism. And you can say, no, it's not. When you have literally a guy like Stephen Miller, who will say, no, we won 9-0. We didn't lose 9-0. It's like, how the hell did you flip that around? That kind of misunderstanding or twisting of the law for your own benefit is wrong. We are living, like I said, we are certainly marching towards Stephen Miller is not great. No, Stephen Miller is actually evil incarnate. I was doing a little research earlier today on sort of the different people in the Third Reich. Who are the people who led the Third Reich? And there are a number of people who weren't at the top, like they weren't the Himmlers and the Gorings and the Hitlers. They were the other guys kind of down below. And there's one guy, I think his name is Heidegger. I could be wrong about how his name was pronounced. He was the guy who headed up the final solution. He was the guy who was doing the final solution. That guy is Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller is this guy. You know, we've got these people who you can see their direct corollaries. But aside from the personnel, just seeing the laws that are being pushed. And as I started at the beginning, my feeling is that these people hate our country, absolutely despise our country because they're trying to change the fundamentals of our democracy and our Constitution. You hate what's going on here and are trying to change it. Hate it. And it's mind-boggling that I take it back. We're starting to see, I think, a bit of a shift. It's mind-boggling how many people are not seeing it, but it's also interesting now that it's starting to impact people, farmers who are like, you made a commitment to me through a farm bill of me getting money in order to buy equipment. I bought that equipment. We are contracted for you to pay. You can't just say, I'm not paying now. You're fucking farmers. Okay? You are fucking farmers because also on an international level, they're not able to ship their shit out. So think about what's going on with our soybean market. We used to send a lot of soybeans to China. That's not going to happen. They're going to go down to Brazil now. They're going to go down to South America now. What happens to our economy? We are beginning to live in a very much an Orwellian world, starting with what happened in Animal Farm, which is the uprising of the animals that overtook the farms, and then over time the pigs that started to subtly change the laws. What was it? I can't remember the specifics. Like the pigs that you can't wear human clothing. That was like one of their constitutional things, right? And then it became you can't wear human clothing unless you can stand on like two legs or something like that, which the pigs learned to do. You did the same thing to the farmers during COVID. Yeah, absolutely. And still they vote for him. And that's the thing I don't understand. That's the thing I don't understand, Dwayne. He had to pay them for like a year to keep your farms from folding, which I think that there's some, to me, if farmers need assistance, you help out a farmer. Always help out a farmer. However, if you're creating the chaos to burn farmers and then paying them, that's a fuck up. So are you saying over half the people in this country hate this country? We voted for it. Oh, I agree. And by the way, I didn't vote for it, Mike, but yes, we as a nation voted for this shit. And we as a nation are going to pay for it. And Mike, not you and not necessarily me. We're the older guys. We're going to survive this to some degree. Our kids are fucked. Absolutely. And if people think that, oh, this is going to make our country great, take a look at the world around you and what they're looking at with what's going on in the world. I would say that's wrong. And yes, Mike, I do think that over half, however many people, and it wasn't over half the people, the funny part is there's so few people that vote, that who can vote and do vote on both sides. I don't care. It's like you didn't vote enough for Democrats or you didn't vote enough for, I don't give a shit. Not enough people vote in this country, which to me is like insanity. I say half the people in this country are told bad information all the time. I would say that there's the amount of disinformation. If you watch Fox News, and I happen to catch plenty of clips on Fox News, the amount of disinformation that's being proposed, and here's the thing, guys, just a little bit of history about who I am. My degree is in communications, film particularly, but I took communications at the sort of the foundational level. They're operating on a gray fact, so sure I'm going to vote for the Republicans who will save them, not the Democrats who will eat their babies. Exactly. Go to Ground News and look at Blind Spot for accurate information. Mike, I love Ground News. I use Ground News all the time. I agree. But I also think that what you're going to find is, and Mike, I'm not saying that we all get our information from some level of distortion, right? And Ground News is a certain place to go. But I am going to also, by the way, Mike, I will tell you this. I do something that I think most people don't do. I fact check everything I read. I go on, like every time I hear something from the left, I'm going on and checking it. I hear something from right, I'm going on and checking it. And I can guarantee you right now, Mike, the majority of our country. So when you're saying 50% of the people were wrong, yeah, because I can guarantee you at least 50% on one side and probably a significant amount on the other side. Don't do that kind of checking, Mike. We are an ignorant society and like being told what we like to be told. And that creates the level of chaos that we're in right now. Because now suddenly you go on, I don't care, you can go on CNN, you can go on Fox, and you can go on to the extremes on both sides of those political aisles. And they will each espouse something. But I will say, you listen to Fox, and when you've got somebody saying, "Oh yeah, absolutely, it makes total sense. Yes, that the president can receive a $400 million jet," and you can say it's for the Department of Defense, but the Department of Defense is going to spend $1 billion to fix it, and then at the end of his term, the president gets it. No. You're supposed to. How can you fact check when everyone is lying? There is no, everyone is not lying, Nick. The problem is that we have created this fallacy of there is, for example, if you ask a question that upsets somebody, because that's a society we're living in right now. Many years I was blissfully ignorant, not anymore. Mike, that's great. I'm glad that you're finding answers to questions that are there. I think that's great. I stay out of the bubble by only getting my news from foreign sources, BBC, France, social. Yeah, and Dr. By the way, welcome. I do the same thing. I look at a lot of international news. How is the world? How are other better qualified journalists looking at the way things are being said here? Good evening, George and chat. Good evening. Multiple international sources are my go-to move. Right. But I also think that we've gotten to the point where we have said that the New York Times, that NPR are now woke. They're fake news. So when you say something, and let's be honest about this, right? You're a dictator and you hear something that you don't like, and it can be legitimate. You don't like it though. Fake news. That's what we've come to. So we're now labeling when somebody comes up and starts asking you a significant question, and you're like turning around saying it's fake news, no. NHK, Guardian are two good ones. Yeah, I like the Guardian, absolutely. Guardian is a good place. The Independent can be, though it does tend to lean a little bit further left. But Mike's got a very valid point, and I would encourage everybody to use ground news. And what you're going to find is you're going to find stuff that you'll see the sway of how it's being reported. And look at a few different sources. Now, the times that I've gone on, I've always looked for sources that are as center, if possible. You know, on a news source, and you're going to find news stories that you don't hear from your side, as Mike said. So yes, use ground news. I want to caution on something that I guess I hinted at last week. This isn't a Republican versus Democrat thing. This isn't a conservative versus liberal thing, because those notions right now are gone. I'm not talking about, like, for example, like gun rights. We can sit here and have a debate on gun rights. We can have a debate on abortion rights. We can have all these debates. Those are discussions between like a view of whether you like or don't like, whether you approve or don't approve, whether there should be laws or shouldn't be laws. I'm coming down to we're at that foundational level of we're either Democratic, and I mean small d, not capital D, small d Democratic or anti-democratic. What's up, Foo? Young, what's up? So that's where we're at right now. And I'm sorry to say, that is not up for debate. You can debate. Again, you guys want to debate the whole silencer thing? Fine. Hearing protection, not hearing protection. I don't give a that's how it's being done is anti-democratic. And that's where we are right now. Yeah, but habeas corpus isn't debatable. It's not debatable. And that's my point. That's why I'm saying things like habeas corpus, the attack on the judiciary, okay? Deporting people without habeas corpus, pulling up to people on the street and without announcing yourself, without having any kind of identification, masks, and pulling people, that is anti-democratic. That is, and again, I'm going to use the historical analogy, that's brown shirt tactics. Absolutely, Dwayne. There is to be a baseline we can agree upon. Right. And that's what we're asking for. It's are we believing in democratic, small d, democratic legitimacies in the United States? That's kidnapping. It is kidnapping. In fact, I heard a very interesting, let's subvert this a little bit, because I truly believe that we are heading more and more towards an authoritarian direction, where at some point there's probably going to be the president is upset with the direction that human trafficking, an even better way of describing it. Yep. That the president's going to get more and more frustrated with the Congress, who's going to start not backing him on everything. It's going to take some time. You got the court system that is going to, and as a quick aside, I'm getting tired of hearing, the president wanted to do this and the courts are stopping him. They're stopping him because he's doing something illegal. Okay. I'm going to give you another good, like, little subtle example. You go out there and rob banks, and the 10th time you get you get thrown in jail because you've robbed banks, and 10 times you rob and 10 times you get thrown in jail. The 11th time, you can't just sit there and just say, I can't believe they're throwing me in jail. I can't believe it. You're breaking the law. Or you're putting forward laws that are unconstitutional. So, whoops. Sorry. Laptop here. I've been doing some work on my laptop. It's probably why there's probably a little bit of a blue glow in my eye, which I'm looking at. It wigs me out. I'm not sure if it's wigging anybody else out. But we have to get back to, are we a free and democratic country? I think we are. I think we will be. I think we'll remain to be. But I think we have to survive what's going on right now. And surviving it is going to be very difficult because in short order, president's going to get pissed off at the Congress. He's going to get pissed off at the court systems. He's going to start looking at all the people that are protesting against him. He's going to declare martial law, or he's going to try to declare martial law. And my fear is the people getting deported are breaking the law. Mike, prove it. Prove it. Give them their day in court. If they're breaking the law, go through the process. Go through the process. That's all I'm saying. Hey, if they're guilty of something, absolutely. No one has said that. But the far right, the regressives like to think that these people need to be thrown out because they're breaking the law. Yeah. Everybody in this country is due that respect. That's what habeas corpus is. Not what Christy Nome says about habeas corpus is the right of the president to be able to do what he wants and throw people out. That's not habeas corpus. You have Americans who either are undereducated or just ignorant to laws and rules. Yes. So, Mike, I'm a law and order guy. I am. I just believe that everybody gets their day in court. And whatever that court might be, that might be you're going through a court, you might be doing some other kind of thing with lawyers, it gets done. That's the way things are done. That's the way things have been done in this country. That's the way they're going to continue to be done in this country. But I believe with all of these masked people with no badges coming up and taking people, what's to say that at some point the president doesn't deputize, I don't know, the Oath Keepers, the Proud Boys? No badges. We don't need those stinking badges. We're Americans who are, yep, exactly. And my fear is as we move in this direction where we move into, or you hire Blackwater guys, when you start moving in that direction where you're starting to bring extra legal help to suppress the people in this country, that's a problem. And I don't believe that as a country, anyone here in this country is doing anything so egregiously illegal. I don't know what happened to modeling. That'll come later, Chris, when I kind of start to slow down from my blithering here. My security detail is deputized, from what I understand. Not a surprise. I can understand where he might want to protect himself. I'm not, and by the way, that comment isn't I wish any kind of violence on anybody. I don't wish violence on anybody. None. Nobody. But I do think that I can understand where he has a security detail. He's a high-profile guy, and he's got to protect himself. He's on a soapbox. Give him a second. That's right. Or more than a second, right? So, anyway, I fear for the direction our country is going. I am optimistic that that people are starting to wake up. Look, there's a bunch of myself, other lefties, whatever. You can call me whatever you want. You want to call me woke? I'm fine with it. You think you're going to own this liberal? I don't think so. But, there's a bunch of us who kind of saw this happening because we've read enough historical precedent to see where this is going. The silencer sure would come in handy against those kidnappers. Nick, what would come in even more handy than that? You don't need a silencer. You can just have a regular gun, club. How about this? How about just don't do it because the law says don't do it? How about that? Why don't we start with that? So I don't own a gun because I'll be tempted to use it. Yeah, Chris, it's funny that you bring it up. Every time I start thinking to myself, you know what? I should probably go get myself licensed. And then I think to myself, if I did that, I think I would be violating my own personal code of ethics. Look, I've shotguns. I have no problem with it. People seem to think that I'm anti-gun. I'm not anti-gun. Let's get some controls on these things. I'm not anti-gun at all. Well, no, call 811. Right, Charles. So, I think we are in a dangerous place, but I think we're going to come out of it, as I think people are starting to wake up to the disasters that are going to hit us. Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP. When you start taking all of that stuff away from people, and now suddenly they can't go see doctors, they can't get treated for their illnesses, and then you start cutting into Social Security. Now you're not paying people what they put money into. Fuck me, guys. That's going to be something that you're going to get an entire wave of people just saying, not happening. Not happening. So I'm optimistic that we will get through this time. It's going to be a terrible, evil time. It's going to be a very difficult time. But my faith kind of tells me that we're going to survive this. It's just going to take some time to get through that. Hi, Light. Good morning to you. While in the USAF, I had to qualify for 18 years. I'm 16. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure you did. And of course, you're in the military. That would make sense, right? We just need to survive hurricane season. And then there's that. Oh, by the way, fuck you, President Trump, for not reaching out to those areas that actually were impacted and saying something. I'm not sure. Has he said anything? Because I haven't heard shit in the news. Has FEMA actually been engaged? The last time I heard, they weren't. Granted, that was earlier today. Things could have changed. There's a whole generation of youngsters to right-wing hucksters. Yeah. It will come back. Because at some point, here's the thing. At some point, you're going to get smacked enough times that you're going to wake up and just say, that ain't right. Another plane crash today. Oh, fucking great. Look, I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I'm sure that the Department of Transportation can be doing better. I'm not going to levy everything on the administration. I don't know enough about how much what the administration is doing is impacting planes crashing and all that kind of stuff. I don't know enough about it. What I will say is I don't think we can continue to just say it's the previous administration, it's the previous administration, it's the previous administration. Stop with that shit. FEMA just threw out their preparedness plan for the year on the first day of hurricane season. We have to make sure we didn't shoot our eye out. I'm sure, Chris. Thank you for bringing in that levity. But yeah, that's kind of funny that they're only now approaching it. Yeah. How about the other gaslighting that's going on? How about that little douchebag, the FBI director, Kash Patel? He's one of my favorite. Probably the DI pilot. Yeah, it's probably exactly what it is, Mike. Why is it that anybody who does something wrong, people come back, people who don't like things are like, oh, must be DEI, you know? It's funny because when I look at DEI, I look at what the administration is right now. None of these people have earned their positions. You got a guy who's the head of the FBI, who's got no FBI experience. You got the guy underneath him who's got some special services but never direct FBI experience. And both of them have an axe to grind. Great. Trump is too old to be in charge. I don't think he is evil, just ignorant. He reminded me of a comedian when I saw it. I think there's probably some truth to that. Trying to keep a serious face out of everyone else. Yeah. I'm in one of the communities that had DOJ has canceled oversight of corrupt police forces. Wow. Let's get a nice head. Let's 86 everybody. I think that would be nice. Let's retire everybody. Frankly, I think we should. 86 means retirement. I'm sure other people will look at it differently. I've always brought up it meant retirement. Retiring something, retiring a dish, retiring a person. Okay, 86 it. Okay, I'll be 86 me. I'll gladly go into retirement. Oh wait, there's no Social Security for me, so yeah, probably not. Anyway, all right. Let's see if I can get a couple pieces put on. So, having said all this, like I said, I'm optimistic. I think we're in a very difficult place. And whatever we do to ourselves, retirement sounds nice if you can be with family. Retirement, yes, absolutely, 100% like. Um, I think what we're going to do is the amount of damage, and we can sit there and just say, this is great, this is great, this is great. We'll see. The amount of damage that is being done as the world looks at us and just says, not sure I trust you guys. That's a problem. I'm retired, or it depends on who you ask. Oh, I would go with the former Chris. Come on. I'll send you $10. $10? I'll take it. You can always take $10. No, I'm actually kidding. Don't send me any money. I don't want to. I don't want to go home. What? You don't want to go home? You don't want to go to a home? Okay, I would agree with that. I wouldn't want to go to a home either. But the world is looking at us. Here's the thing, guys. And I know people are like, it doesn't fucking matter. Okay, the treasury yield's going up. Bad. Moody's downgrading us. Bad. China coming in and starting to make negotiated deals with other countries. Wicked bad. What happened to Chris 1? Chris, I think he's disconnected. He kind of got out of the community, Chris, which is too bad. I miss him a lot. I used to send my dad to a home when I went to visit one. Yeah, having my mother-in-law was in a home. Actually, both my mother-in-law and my father-in-law. Yeah, aging in place is the way to go. Send him money. He's an influencer. I am. You know what? Here's the thing, Nick. Since we're talking about it, I don't think I'm going to influence anybody. I know that everybody here has an opinion, has a point of view. That's up to you. Only thing I will say, it's like people who believe in the earth being flat. Have at it. The facts aren't with you, but if you don't want to believe them, that's fine. In the same way, you can believe whatever political thing you want to believe in, it doesn't matter. Down the road, we're going to know. Right now, we're not in that place where we're going to know what the impact is of this current administration. In the next 6 months to a year, we are going to know. He's a donkey on the edge. Who's a donkey on the edge? Who's a donkey? We're going to know. I think part of it is, this is where, as you get older, you're like, you know what? Patience. An answer will come. My father died of dementia in the bed. Really? My father-in-law did the same, actually, Chris. I'm sorry to hear that, brother. Quote from Shrek. He's a donkey on the edge. Quote from Shrek. Okay. I'll buy that for nothing. So, we're going to see. We're going to see what kind of world we leave for our children. I'm optimistic that a younger group of politicians are starting to come about. And frankly, I'm totally in favor of it because I think people of my generation have fucked things up pretty bad. Thankfully, I was able to be there in time. Yeah. Chris, it's always good when you can do that. Yeah. My wife also did the same thing with both her father and mother as well, which I think was a blessing. We knew the time was coming, and she was able to spend a little bit of time with her mother, particularly before she passed. So true. People should consider the butterfly effect, making a decision with grace to realize most actions didn't have immediate consequences. God's mercy allows us to learn from mistakes. Yeah, Light, I'm 100% in agreement with that. 100%. That's one of the things I've talked about. I might need to slide a piece in first. I held both of my parents' hands when they took their last breath. Yeah, Mike, you're fortunate. I was not there for my dad, and my mom died in a car crash, so yeah, no. You're lucky to have that. I mean, to believe George Carlin towards the end of his life was totally right. Oh, 100%. George Carlin, He was a prophet. Come on, let's be honest. He was a prophet. Um, but we're going to see in time what's going to come about. And you know what? Here's the thing. I said this to my boss a while ago. We were having a political conversation. I said, you know what, dude? I hope that you can come up to me and say, see, you were wrong. And I will say, you know what? Thank fucking God I was wrong. I don't think I'm going to be. Not this time around. I hope I can. Maybe someone will take me out while I'm riding my bike. Chris, I hope not. Dude, that happened to Stephen Covey, if I'm correct. I was reading his book when I found out that like a number of years ago, and I found out that he was like, and he was not a young man, but he was riding his bike and he got taken out. Kind of crazy shit. Anyway, guys, I'm not going to change minds. I'm not here to change minds. I'm here to voice. I'm hoping. The only thing I would suggest is, and I appreciate that Mike was saying, like, look at ground truth. And he's right. I'm losing friends over this shit. You're losing friends over what shit? Over this stuff? Yeah, but Mike, but here's the thing. In the end, you and I may disagree. And this is the important thing about this, Mike. And I want us to remember this. We are going to disagree. As long as we're not on politically violent different ends, we have to find a way of being able to communicate again. That's because this is a matter of history, not politics. Most of the people who I've seen the most freaked out are historians. Yeah, exactly. It is. I agree with you completely. You know me, I'm hard-headed. Who needs a helmet? Chris. Mike, you are going to lose friends over this. You know what? And I think when we lose friends, and I've lost friends over this too, and what it does for me, Mike, is it's caused me to do some self-reflection. Was I in the right or was I in the wrong? And invariably, it's going to be a tough time. Not everyone feels the way you do when we disagree, Mike. Because Mike, the point. Okay, here's what it's going to come down to, and it kind of comes back to what I was just saying. At some point, Mike, as I said, I hope you are right. I don't think you are. Because if you're right and everything that I'm kind of all this craziness that's going on right now is just ends up being just nothing, God bless. And then I will turn to you, Mike, and I will say, I'm sorry, you were right. And the thing right now is we don't even know how to say sorry. We don't even know how to say. We're so fixed on our positions that we don't know when to say, I was not right. So if we survive this and I'm right, apologize to me. If we survive this and you're right, I'll apologize to you. You have my commitment to that. I'd rather be wrong in my heart in the right place than be right and have a dark heart. Yes, light, 100%. It's good to be human. Yeah. Mike, that's because those people equate politics with their identity. Yeah, that's the problem. And by the way, it swings both ways. I think when you're dealing with an equal extreme on the regressive side, I think what you're finding is that there's a lot less fact-based stuff, and that to me is destructive. If you again, guys, read, observe. A good example is Tom Nichols' book, and I brought it up multiple times, The Death of Expertise, that we are in a fundamental place right now where ignorance is considered a virtue. I remember my grandmother on my mother's side asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. I told her a hermit. Yeah. Chris, there's something to be said about that. But the only thing with being a hermit is I kind of like people every now and then. Every now and then, I kind of do like people. Get away from TikTok. Yeah. Find like Mike was saying earlier, go to, and Mike is 100% right. Go to a legit news source and read it. And don't read what does the right say, or if you're on the left, don't read what's on the left. Find neutral news. And dude, there's been plenty of times when I've heard the left say, "Oh, there's X amount of percentage that's going wrong with this," and I do the research. It's like it's not right. Touch grass, like what? Like physically touch grass? I think that's a bad thing. Me too, until they piss me off and eat it. God, Dwayne. I don't use TikTok. Yeah, I don't use TikTok either. You know, but as I said, Mike, I will. I'm trying to for my personal stuff, and now I'm going to personalize this a little bit. Mike, I know that I've distanced myself from people as well because of politics, and it bothers me. But it also for the least for the first decade of all this craziness, or the first 6 7 years of this, I kind of needed it because it was very difficult to see somebody that you love so much. And I'm thinking specifically of a very good friend from back in the day. Um, and to have and to know that I've kind of lost them. And that's as much on me as it is on them, you know. I genuinely believe people that never feel remorse have a different witness for events because catching confirmation of your ideas versus seeing new events can change your storytelling news. 100% light. Wow, very profound statement. I agree with you. I think what we have is take a moment to take my medication. Nice. This is my relationship with my parents, honestly. Yeah, and I know other people who have relationship with their parents like that too, and it must be very difficult. I kind of wonder. I mean, my parents have been gone for a while, but I would like to think that my parents, because of how I am, how they brought me up, I think they would be on my side on this. I'd like to think. My spot on ground news is nice because it shows what nobody is reporting on. Yeah, agreed. Agreed, Mike. Um, you know, Light brought up something that I think is most important, and that is this is why I have a hard time with the current regime again, and I'm going to turn this a little bit philosophical and religious because I think Light kind of cracked it a little bit. I was brought up at least trying to be empathetic. My parents were empathetic. My dad, I've got three heroes in life, and my dad is one of them. True heroes. I mean, people like I respect them beyond all others. Like they could say anything, and I would agree with. My dad was one of them. My dad showed me, and he's probably at the top. My dad showed me through his actions of how he treated people with empathy. When he had, okay, my dad made some poor choices, including working at a restaurant chain in the late 70s that I've never seen my dad cry until that time. But he, at one point, he said, I remember I walked in on a conversation. I was 13, 14, walked in on a conversation between him and my mother. My dad's like, I'm about to lose everything and I don't know what to do. And my dad was crying. I never saw my dad cry. My dad was old school in that regard. But my dad was also the person that if somebody came in and just said, "Hey, can I do something to work? Can I do something to work for some food?" My dad's like, "Sit down. I'm going to get you a meal." That's the kind of person my dad was. That's a level of empathy that I think if I look at the people we need to model people like my dad. He wasn't a perfect man. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to deify him, but he showed me how you treat people. And when I look at the current regime, they are not like my dad. And that's why I guess in my heart, it hurts so much to see where we are. My parents came to this country. I'm first generation. My dad built up a business, struggled through the rest of his years with trying to maintain, just some kind of like to do well for himself and for his family. My mom came to this country as an immigrant. They they worked, but they also went out of their way to show how to be good, even when it hurts you. And what I see right now in our leadership is, you know what? Fuck you. Fuck you. I don't care how you feel as long as it makes me feel good. That's antithetical to how I was taught. That is not empathic. That is conning. And you can say it any way you want. And this has nothing to do with guns and money. This is just from a very human level. We are at a place in our history right now where I am seeing people, and you could hate Biden, you can hate Obama, you can hate Bush. None of that. These people, at least those people, at least came from a point in their politics of, I'm trying legitimately to do what's right for our country, even if they weren't doing right. Like my dad. My dad tried to do right by a lot of people, even when he did wrong sometimes. Those people absolutely tried. A lot of our former leaders at least tried to do right by the people in this country, like my dad. Try to do right by people in this country. The person in charge right now and the people working underneath them do not care about the people in this country, do not care about this country. It's all about what's in it for me and trickle down from that. And fundamentally, that to me is like, that's right there. There's your foundation. Try to do good even when it hurts you. The kindness of people became martyrs. Yeah. Light, I really like you, man. I think I like the way you're thinking about this. Good points. So if somebody shows sympathy to those, okay, I'm gonna throw out my Christian ideals. You show kindness to the prisoner. You show kindness to that person who has no clothes, who has no food. You show kindness to the person who's sick. You show kindness to somebody who's of a different religion. You show kindness to a person who's got a different skin color. You show kindness to a person who's not your gender or whatever gender. It doesn't matter. Just show kindness. Show empathy. I just paraphrase you, sir. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Your words are in line with genuine religion. It's because believe it or not, I actually am a person of faith. Doesn't always come across that way, but I am a person of faith. Not maybe a traditional faith, but I'm a person of faith. But my beliefs are formed by my parents' upbringing, my experiences in life, and my faith. Okay? So, with all that being said, okay, if people show, this is why I can look at guys, like I said, like people who I don't agree with, but if I understand at least they're coming from a perspective where I see what they're trying to do, it's wrong, but I see that they're trying to solve us a problem because they see that they need to solve a problem. What we have right now is not a problem solver. Right now, what we have is chaos agents. And at some point, chaos is going to completely transition over to destruction. Your words are in line with genuine religion. I appreciate that, Light. And I do appreciate that. I don't consider myself any kind of a philosophical or religious philosopher. I will say this. I hope to do a couple things before I pass on. You know, I want to be able to honor my parents. I want to be able to leave this world in a better place for my kids. And I want to kind of help move that needle a little bit. So, guys, I hope you understand, particularly those who disagree with me, who don't agree with my political views. That's fine. I hope we can at least come from a perspective of empathy, of and I'm gonna use a flip example in a second, but I hope we come from a place of empathy. There's been a lot of excoriating people on the right who are like, I voted for this guy. I can't believe he's burning me. I've lost my wife is being deported. My farm is being taken away. I'm being taxed out of existence. So my business is about to close, and I voted for this guy. And you got a lot of people on the progressive side who are saying, fuck you, you deserve this. And my feeling on that is wrong. People have been made decisions, mistakes, costly ones, and they own those mistakes. But don't ever come to them and say, fuck you, you got what you deserve. That's not the way of empathy. So I put together this. That's what we got accomplished today, guys. Anyway, my friends, go out there and do good. Just do good. Go out there and try to show empathy for the other. Do right by somebody. That person you think is a criminal, think about what their experiences are. Okay? I didn't hear any sanding. Just for you, Nick. There's a lot of sanding to do on this thing, too. I don't know why a president should be elected. Social influence, everything. It normally distracts. 100%. Time to watch hockey. Later, peeps. Good luck, Mike. Which games are on, by the way? I love it. You know, the funny thing is, we're becoming a hockey family. Kind of crazy. See, we got something in common besides models. But anyway, guys, thanks, Joe. Now it's a show. Yeah, there we go. Just for you, Nick. But guys, I'm going to just say it again. Go out there and do good. Brighten the world as much as you can. Show love for people. Show empathy for people. Understand where people are coming from before you start to vilify. Do good. Brighten the world. I'll be back on tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., not talking about stuff like this, okay? But anyway, guys, enjoy. Love you all, and I'll catch you next week at this time and tomorrow morning if you want to do the regular show. Peace, everybody.